Tonight's light stream, we are going to talk a little bit about flat Earth, which is an absolute travesty that I even have to do this. I thought it was over with. I did a debate publicly. I was tricked into it with flat Earthers a few years ago that resulted in death threats for me and my family, and even an 80-year-old cancer patient by a Navy SEAL that represented these flat Earthers when I completely decimated them and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt how ridiculous they were. Not only that, but they refused to release the video. They were the only ones videoing. Turns out there was a reason for that. They wanted to control the situation. But beyond that, I'm going to give you guys some of the rules for how to identify a fake conspiracy. And here's the thing. In case you're a person that happens to be considering that the Earth might actually be flat or anything other than a sphere, the first method I'm going to give you for determining that the Earth is a sphere, if I explain this to you and you still think it's possible that the Earth is flat, you are literally an idiot, like beyond any hope of salvation. Like your cognition level is about the same as Max Planck's length. If that. I mean, it may actually be smaller. For those of you that aren't flat earthers, I know there's nothing smaller than the Planck's length. I'm sure none of you flurfs out there were aware of that, but okay. So here's the thing. This is really, it shouldn't have to go past this, right? And when this all came up, this is how long it took me and every other person in the world that has an IQ over 100 to figure out instantly that this is not possible. The number one rule for a conspiracy to be real, because we live in a world that is full of conspiracies, that it would be absolutely moronic to believe that there are never elite conspiracies, right? You have 1% of the population controlling most of the wealth, most of the media. They have shared interest, right? So they have the means, they have the motive. It's just like people that laugh at something just because it can be classified as a conspiracy theory. They are brainwashed, which can in a lot of ways be different than actual stupidity. So they may actually have much higher IQs than a flurf. But they're still sort of the equivalent thing, right? It's that dumb. It's beyond, there's no way to explain how stupid it is to actually dismiss things just because it sounds like it could be a conspiracy theory. Having said that, there are rules that qualify whether or not a conspiracy can possibly be real. And the number one thing is too many conspirators. If there are too many conspirators, it is not possible. So although I did not finish this training, I barely even started it, I did see the curriculum and start to go through it a little bit, training to make satellites for the U.S. military. Because when you join the National Guard, before you even go to boot camp, you start going to drills on the weekend. And so I took the ASVAB and I did all the stuff, and you just start doing whatever you're going to be doing before they even ship you out to boot camp, right? So why were we programming satellites with curvature in them if the Earth is flat, first of all? And the thing is, we're not the only people, okay? In order to assert that NASA has created a conspiracy to trick people into believing the Earth is a sphere, a globe. It's not really a globe. That's it's a sphere. It's not even a sphere. It's like an oblate or something. I don't know. You know, it's not perfectly spherical, but close enough. Let's call it a sphere. So NASA has created this conspiracy, which, by the way, NASA does not mean to deceive in Hebrew. It means to carry or to lift up. Nashah is a different word with a different spelling, but the Hebrew characters that would actually represent NASA means to carry or lift up, you know, like a spaceship. And it also happens to mean National Aeronautic Space Agency or whatever it is, aerospace. I don't even know. But I do know the Hebrew, and I know that it doesn't mean to deceive. That's also bullshit. But yeah, I mean, do I really even need to go through this? How many people over how many thousands of years? You have to go all the way back to, so NASA convinced Newton and went all the way back to Aristophanes, which this is where the story really gets ridiculous. And this is your warning, because if you are still, determined to believe that the earth is flat and you hear what I'm about to tell you, and you don't understand, and you still think the earth is anything but a sphere, not a fucking, what is that fake physicist, Nassim Haramein? It's not a toroid or a torus or whatever that, it's none of these things. And you can use a piece of paper to prove this to yourself. It's not hard, and there's no other explanation. Does not require trusting science. All that it requires is that you're not a flaming fucking moron. Right? Seriously, it's that bad. Aristophanes was in Alexandria, and he saw the shadow cast by an obelisk, which is a big, we used to call it King Kong's dick when I was a kid, that giant, pointy thing, the pencil in Washington, D.C. And then he was there again, or he was somewhere else, and it was the same time of day and the same height obelisk, and he noticed the shadow was tiny. And he was 400 miles away, and he went, the only way that could happen is if the earth was a sphere. So here's the thing, because of the distance, right? If this like flat earthers will say stupid shit like, well, it's a hill. That's a 400-mile hill, And the thing is, you can create all kinds of other stuff and extend this out. And there's all kinds of other things that make sense relative to this that never made sense before once Aristophanes figured out that the only explanation for the different length of the shadows at the same time of day is that the earth is a sphere. That's it. That's it. There's no argument possible beyond that. There really isn't. There is none. And here's the thing. Here's the thing that's even worse. And by the way, I'm going to give you the reason why this matters in a second. It goes way beyond flat earth dumbfuckery. There's way more to this. Because we do live on a planet where the elite are taking advantage of people. We do live on a planet where there are lies being forced down the throats of the people all over the planet. We do live on a planet where the elite are taking advantage of people. And so, when you... I'm trying to think of a polite way to say it. When your brain has clearly melted and dribbled out of your ear holes, and you associate yourself with a movement of people who are claiming to be critical thinkers outside of the box, because of association with your stupid ass, all the rest of us are dismissed and laughed at and ridiculed, right? So, you do have an obligation and responsibility not to be a fucking mouth-breathing, propeller hat fucking moron, You have to use your brain a little bit, just a tiny little bit. Because the obelisks of Aristophanes, we shouldn't have even had to go that far. Just the number of conspirators over so many centuries that would be required to make a successful conspiracy out of flat Earth. These guys say NASA is behind it. NASA, that Newton, they drew Newton's shit all those years ago. Or what are you saying? The devil hid it all over the earth, just like the Christians used to say. I actually had this happen to me once. I went outside and grabbed a fossil and took it in to show these born-agains that I was working with. And they're literally like, oh, well, the devil put that there to deceive you. So, I don't know, but I'm assuming that this is what flat earthers are actually saying. That like all that shit is hidden there by NASA in order to, deceive you all. And the only explanation that anyone can give, apparently, is that it's part of a conspiracy to undermine Christianity. Again, All you have to do to undermine Christianity on your own is actually do a little bit of intellectual work, and it will dissolve in the light of truth and reason and history. And, you know, it's just a fucking lying specter of the ages that is about to dissolve and go away. And that's the one thing, you know, that maybe flat earthers are helping with. The association with Christianity may help us get rid of it. But where was I at with this, man? Yeah, you know, the sheer number of conspirators. Like, we don't need, you know, I got a whole list of naked eye stuff that you can do. I mean, how do you explain the stars down here in South America versus, you know, where I used to live in Colorado? What is that about? What about time zones? I mean, you know, I don't need to go through all this. People all know all of this stuff. That's why it blows my mind. I mean, the responses I was getting, I posted, what prompted this is that I posted a meme, you know, flat earth spoofing meme. And people were saying, oh, well, I guess you're not really illuminated because, you know, if you don't think the earth is flat, then you're still a normie that's under the spell of, I mean, can you imagine being that stupid and condescending someone because you're that stupid? It's literally the most embarrassing thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life. It's almost inconceivable that it could even happen. And then there's this, you know, get a telescope. You don't need a scientist to explain to you what it is you're seeing when you look in a telescope. You point it at something and you look at it. You don't have to trust science, right? Because that's what the flat earthers are saying. Like, well, you just believe whatever the scientists are telling you. No, you dumb fuck. Take a couple of sticks, put them in the ground a few kilometers apart at the same time of day and measure the shadow. You can do it yourself. You don't need, you know, I mean, come on. What the fuck? So what was the, oh, and you can do it with a bicycle even. I can't remember exactly how to do this experiment, but you can do it with a bicycle. You can get curvature. I think you only need to ride like 4 kilometers or something. Pretty remarkable. But get a telescope, point it in the air, up to space, you know, the firmament. Idiots. Point it up to the firmament, and what are you going to see? Spheres. Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Venus, Moon. If you have a good enough telescope, you can see other solar systems with other planets, and guess what? Spheres. So somebody explained to me how in the fuck it is that all of this shit in the sky, stars as well, are spheres, and then the Earth is just suddenly somehow something else. You know why all of those things in space are the same shape? Shake up a fucking bottle of Coke and watch those little balls rise through it. Guess what? They are spheres for the exact same reason that all these celestial bodies are. They were created by the same forces, governed by the same laws. Of course, it's on a completely different scale. But basically, those bubbles are the same. You know what another one they like to say is? That water doesn't curve. Find me a dewdrop. What shape is it? You know? I mean, these are adults. A lot of them. You know, they're allowed to drive cars. They can buy alcohol, guns even. Can you believe this shit? They're allowed to have children. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, I am not about government intervention, but that is one case where it's kind of like, man, you know, something's got to be done. It is so unfair to a child to let somebody that is that demonstrably brain dead raise them. You know, it's just, this is not a matter of opinion, you know. This is not someone's beliefs that you need to respect. You don't need to respect people's beliefs if they're completely stupid and destructive. You know, I have no mercy for religion, Christianity, any of these major religions. Flat Earth is no different, and for the same reasons. It's no different than having a cancer on your body, and are you going to be polite to it? No. You just cut it out. You know? These things are that bad. They really are that bad. They're cancers on the face of the earth. That level of ignorance and stupidity, you know, is just despicable. Where is there something else in the sky that is flat? Show me this flat thing. Anywhere in the fucking universe. A flat thing in space. There is nothing. Too many conspirators stick in the ground with some distance, you know, shadows. There's no trusting NASA involved. None at all whatsoever. You know, and then to suggest that every round, like, one-way trip around the planet in a plane, all those people were lying. All those people were lying. They got to the ice wall and they were turned around by the military. And every single pilot that's ever done it, every pilot that flew from New York to Moscow to New York again is lying. They're all lying. The radars were rigged to show their flight path. Shut the fuck up. Like, you know, there have to be limits to human stupidity. And every flat earther on the earth is way beyond them. You know, they used to actually have a slogan, a real slogan, that they were all over the globe or some shit like that. I mean, you know, you guys, when people have a lack of understanding or a little bit of difficulty comprehending something, these flat earthers are a whole different breed. This is a new level of stupid. It makes me think that everything actually evolves, that evolution isn't necessarily linear. It's just going in all directions. So we're probably evolving like eventually the highest IQ in human history. But we're also evolving bigger idiots than we ever have had on this planet ever before. That seems like a pretty sound theory in light of some of the shit that we're seeing out there in the world. Aristophanes was a Greek guy that was in Alexandria, and he noticed an obelisk that was the same height as another one 400 miles away at the same time of day, and noticed that the shadow was like there was no shadow, whereas the shadow from the other one was really long. And I might not have the story perfect, but that's more or less it. And that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt, especially considering the distance. It also tells you how big the planet is. And based on his calculations of curvature and that distance, he was able to predict the exact size of the Earth. And I think it was within 280 miles or something. So he must have been wrong, right? I mean, dude, it just, come on, man. This shit isn't even funny. It's not even funny. So let's talk about the Flat Earth conference. I'm not going to do this for long because I don't want to talk about this even. I just think that, you know, and if I can help somebody out, because there's a chance that there might be like one or two people that actually are smart that just haven't thought this shit through yet, or just we're insufficiently educated and have some hope. But, you know, when I'm talking about the ones that are just like irrevocably, you know, once you've heard all this stuff and you still think the Earth is flat or any shape other than a sphere, you know, just please spin that propeller hat as hard as you can and see if you can make it like take you the fuck off this planet. That would be great. Okay, that would be swell. So, all right. So the Flat Earth Convention, it wasn't a convention. This is what happened. Some psychopath woman, where I lived in Vilcabamba, Ecuador, which is not what people say it is, by the way. If you're planning to go there because you think it's like this enlightened hippie community, you got another thing coming. They're all in cocaine. They're drunk as hell, toxic, nut job. You know, the hippies are all even insane. It's not anything like they say. There are little pockets of cool people, just like there are everywhere, but don't be fooled. Vilcabamba, like they found severed heads down by the river. People get robbed walking home all the time. People get murdered, and I mean, it's not at all this like hippie enclave of happiness and jolliness and shit. It's not at all. But I was living there, figuring this out slowly but surely. And this woman, they offered me $200 to come and debate a flat earther. And I didn't realize it was a religious movement yet. I thought they were just stupid. So I thought, okay, well, that's no problem. I'll just, make sure I've studied I went hard. I stayed up late at night learning all the astrophysics and actually making sure I understood the math because I didn't want to be, phony and just regurgitating shit. That was their criticism. If you're just regurgitating what the scientists say, then I agree with them. That's good, fine, valid point. So I learned all this shit and then went down there to debate them. And I get there, and there's like 200 people in this tent, and Vilcabamba's not very big. And I was like, damn, man, there's really that many people that are about this flat earth shit. One of them had flown from California to see me and witnessed this. Somebody from the YouTube community was actually there, had to buy tickets. They sold tickets to this fucking thing, and it was a setup. The whole thing was a setup. Every single one of them in that tent was a born-again Christian, except for the people that had come with me or to see me. There was pretty much nothing but born-again Christians. They were all like hardcore right-winger lunatics. And so the guy that was there to debate me had like the gimp outfit, like he was zippered up in leather, his whole entire body. And then he takes the leather thing off, and I'm expecting like a white boomer Christian redneck. And it's like this young, sophisticated looking, obviously rich. When some people have a lot of money, like you can tell their teeth are sparkling in their eyes. They don't bother to open them all the way because they just don't need to, I guess. And you know what I mean? It was obvious right away. This dude is upper class, at least upper middle class, British, and black. And how in the fuck, and this does become important, It might sound like I'm just generalizing, but I'm not. Wait till you hear what I figured out eventually about this guy. So I guess it was supposed to be like his sexecutioner outfit. Like he was going to execute me. The Luciferian Illuminatus that they had lured down to this flat earth convention in order to establish a connection between Satanism and science. That was the master plan. And so I start debating this guy. And I'm going on about like the astrophysics of why fucking celestial bodies are round and shit, and like how gravity works. And I start hearing hecklers like Satanist, Luciferian, Illuminati, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And then we're going on, and this dude is just saying all this stupid shit in like a refined, highly educated, British, articulate. And I'm just the whole time going, man, something is fucking wrong here. This is not right. Like, this is not right. This guy can't possibly believe the shit that's coming out of his mouth. Don't forget that. So at one point, this guy that had a reputation for like beating up old people and just whoever, he was just a complete piece of shit. Human piece of shit. Born again Christian. Of course, Jesus will forgive him, so fuck it. I guess it's fine to go beat up an old lady. He was notorious for just, bullying people, and he beat up his roommate. He was always beating people up. But the Vilcabamba cops, somebody stabbed somebody a little while back, and they let him out the next day or something, and then he killed someone, So that would happen with this guy. But he was an ex-Navy SEAL, and he was a mercenary, a real one. Like, they would fly him overseas to kill people, and then he would come back to Vilcabamba. And so I noticed that he kept walking up to the table and like murmuring something at me. But I was trying to pay attention to what this gimp was saying, and I wasn't really, and then it occurred to me, he's threatening me. And so, suddenly I'm like, just kind of stunned, like all these people here obviously are Christians. How did that happen? I thought this was like a public event. This is some kind of organized group. And then the guy came and threatened me so I could really hear him. And I was like, Navy SEAL or not, I'll fuck you up, dude. Like, I got up in his face and, I was like, you better back the fuck up, bro, And so it's like almost at the point of becoming a brawl. And, I sit back down and then the guy's still debating me. So the point was that I was so ruthlessly just like smacking down all the stupid shit this guy would say. At one point he said, the sun is electric, you can tell by looking at it. Right? So I'm just like murdering everything that comes out of this guy's mouth. And they realize like, oh shit, this is not going well. So they start sending this Navy SEAL to distract me with physical threats. That's their fallback plan. This tent full of born-again Christians, that's their fucking strategy to win the flat earth debate. My 6-month-old baby is in the front row in my partner's arms, right? And then when I really started to fuck them up, and this lady that had come 80-something years old, dying from cancer, the Navy SEAL, she said something to him, like, why don't you let him concentrate? And he turned around and looked at her and said, aren't you dying from cancer? How about if I just fucking kill you right here and now? And so I didn't know about that yet. So then the big setup comes. There was this guy that played keyboards in my band for a while down there. I don't even care if you know his name. His name is Jiminy, and he lives in Vilcabamba. And he is a crackhead, and he is a fucking POS. But he took a shot at her and lost at my current partner. She's there in the front row with our baby. And he stands up and grabs a microphone and acts like he has a question. But then he starts accusing me of trying to indoctrinate him or recruit him into the Illuminati, saying that I had, he didn't really say exactly what I had done, except that, it involved pentagrams. And that was true because he had been worried about parasitical entities, which I don't really believe in. But I do practice some ritual magic as a sort of sophisticated type of meditation, I guess. And so I told him about the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which was, from my point of view, a superstitious technique to rid him of his superstitious problems, right? Fight fire with fire kind of logic. So he tried to turn that into recruiting for my evil satanic secret society. And then I realized that this had all been planned, that they had planned this entire setup from the beginning. And later, I started hearing that, people had overheard them in the coffee shops. Like the woman that organized it, her daughter was saying, my mother's such a cunt. I can't believe she set him up for this. And so, partly I'm just sharing that story to kind of convey to some of you that are like, why do you even care about this shit? Most of you probably don't know how insane it is. I had no idea. I had to go down there and, have these lunatics threaten to kill me and my family and my supporters just for not being completely stupid. Like, that was the only crime that we were guilty of. That we had measurable IQs that were significantly higher than the Planck's link. That's it. That's our only crime. Navy SEAL that actually kills people for a living. So, I do feel some obligation to do what I can to help to rid the world of, a level of ignorance. When you have ignorance that is dangerous, when you have ignorance and delusion and insanity that is motivated by fear and religion, you have a terribly dangerous circumstance on your hands. The Trump cult is the same. It's the same thing. And of course, the Biden supporters are also the same thing, but the right wing is a little bit more fear-driven than the left. If they weren't, they wouldn't be religious. If they weren't, They wouldn't be so heavily armed and also want a bigger military and a bigger police force. Pretty funny, right? Supposed to be the tough guys. What a world, what a world. But yeah, you guys, just to recap real quick. First of all, too many conspirators. Not possible. Not possible. We're talking about conspirators going over hundreds of years from every country on the planet. You know how many people have shit in orbit right now? Satellite companies, engineers that have to put curvature, programming in the satellites, in the GPS, which wouldn't work unless, if the curvature was not real, then the GPS would not work. There's, I think, even satellite. Cell phone towers have it. They have to have curvature to keep the signal arcing correctly. It's incredibly stupid. Tons of people have flown around the world. The Antarctic Treaty, where they say that you're not allowed to go, the military is not allowed to go. They literally can't have military there to tell you to go home. There's no military there telling you that you have to leave. The international treaty only states that anyone, civilian only civilian, unless they're for peaceful purposes, which means scientific exploration, whatever, anyone can go there. Metallica went there and had a concert with like 2,000 fans, You can literally get in a boat right now and just go there. No one will stop you. It's, these people are so committed to this idea that there's this, and I think also just being part of a club, like feeling like you're on the inner circle of something, is so appealing to people that are just absolute cowards. That's really the thing, They're so small-minded and cowardly that they just, they have found this idiot life raft and they have climbed in there and they are just clinging to that motherfucker like it's their only salvation. They are Jesus on the cross in that fucking raft. What's going on, JD? Always good to see you around lately in the chat. Very, very active in the chat. So, recap. I started the recap and I just started ranting again. But what I was saying is, first thing, too many conspirators. I could go on. If I was going to talk about everyone that would have to be involved in the conspiracy to lie about the shape of the planet, it would take me like a 6-hour stream. And that's not by name. That's just occupation, time period. Like, I asked ChatGPT to give me a list of ways you can tell with your eyes without any instruments, without any science. And I just kept typing more and hitting enter, and it's all sure, and another page, sure, another page, more, sure, another page. Oh, just over and over and over and over. But the best one, other than the fact that there are different stars on the north and southern hemisphere, northern southern hemisphere, how do you explain that? On a flat planet, Aristophanes, the two obelisks 400 miles away, completely different shadows lengths at the same time of day. There's one way to explain that, and it's the only possibility. Plus, it allowed him to predict the shape and size, the size also of the sphere. There's no way that it's wrong. That's enough right there. That one thing is enough. It's absolute proof. And then again, turn your telescope to space and every single fucking thing you see, star, comet, planet, moon, all spheres. So why in the fuck would the Earth just, so I'm going to think I'm going to be a donut or whatever it is people, wait. Because God, God can do anything. No, man. If there is a God, it was like a consciousness that exploded and its mind became the laws, and it's, the other form of energy, you could call it the female energy, became the matter, which is light. So we have body and mind, But there are not different, like, you know, it doesn't just do weird stuff in this part of the whole universe is uniform, is what I'm saying. The laws are the same everywhere. You know, they might break down inside of a black hole or whatever, but as far as, you know, the universe all the way to the end of it, the gravity is the same, everything is the same. You can look all the way across the whole motherfucking vastness of motherfucking creation, and every motherfucking celestial body that you will see is a motherfucking sphere. So stop threatening to kill old ladies in order to, you know, protect your dumb fuckery. Like, come on, you guys. This is just, yes, you're being lied to. Yeah, your water might be deliberately poisoned. I saw a video of Obama today where he had this cup of Flint, Michigan water trying to tell them that the government had their back. And he's like, oh, this isn't a stunt. It's not a stunt. Literally says it's not a stunt. And he asked for some tap water. Don't remember the last time a president stopped a speech to ask for water. And then he says, I really do need the water. And he goes like this and sets it behind the desk where the camera can no longer see it. He didn't drink any. None. Like, you see, it's a clear glass. You can see his mouth. And then he picks it up again, and he's like, it's not a stunt. I really am thirsty. He drinks absolutely none. You see, he's thirsty, but yet the glass remains completely full, even after he sipped from it twice, and he puts it back out of sight behind the desk. Yes, your politicians are full of shit. The government lies to you. History is full of lies. The Bible is nothing but lies. Islam is lies. But the earth is a fucking sphere. And you can prove it to yourself just by checking. That's it. You don't need science. You literally don't even need science. The Foucault, is that how you say it? Foucault? I don't know. The proper Foucault, I guess, or Foucault. The pendulum, you know? It fucking rotates with the rotation of the earth. It spins with the rotation of the earth. I don't have anything else to say about this. I really don't. I mean, it's just, you know, you're guilt by association. You know, you have to take responsibility for what you put out there in the world. There has to be limits to how embarrassing you will be, you know? You can't do this to the rest of us that are actually out here trying to get to the truth and trying to build our numbers. You know, there's safety in numbers. We have impact with greater numbers. By the way, hit the like button in greater numbers. Join my Patreon in greater numbers because I am demonetized, which means I don't get very great numbers of views or money or anything. So it's very helpful if you guys join my Patreon, or there are ways to support in the chat, and you can join me for a music stream in 20 minutes that'll probably go on most of the night, even though I'm sick as hell. But I ate some jungle deer before the stream, and now I'm feeling a little bit stronger. So... You know what I'm saying, though, you guys? It really is harmful, man. I honestly suspect, speaking of conspiracies, and how ironic is this, that the dumbest conspiracy ever in the history of conspiracies is a conspiracy. It exists to... What is the word when they... like agent... provocateur... you know, they... the word is escaping me, where you discredit something, discredit a movement by creating a fake thing to associate with it. You know, they did this to the Black Panthers. They did this to the hippie movement. This is not anything new, you know? So I think in the early 2000s, they noticed there are a lot of people that have figured out what psychedelics are actually for. There are a lot of people out there doing yoga. There are a lot of people out there reading Orwell and Huxley and Terrence McKenna and all this stuff, You know, we're probably in deep shit. We need to start doing things to make them look like a bunch of fucking morons, you know, and worse and worse. Like Charles Manson, that MK Ultra thing, that was probably to discredit the psychedelic movement and the hippies and all that, you know, almost definitely it was. They had MK Ultra doctors visiting him in jail over years, and this is not conspiracy theory. This is photographed. I mean, the guy signing into the jail to see him. He posed for a photo standing there next to the fucking log. They log in to see Charles Manson. Dude's an MK Ultra agent. You know? But you gotta not let yourself get sucked up into a government psyop and fuck all the rest of us that are really dedicating our lives to trying to intervene in the usurpation of all of the fruits of the labors of humanity in every fucking venue, which is what's happening. So thank you guys so much for spending this time with me. I hope your brain didn't get flattened. I hope that the flat earth got scorched just as badly as I was hoping that it would. You know, and any of you guys that are out there considering conspiracy theories, there's a small checklist of things that you can find already on my channel and other videos. You just go through it, and if there's too many conspirators required, that is the number one thing, and flat earth is just done. Like, at face value, it's just done. As soon as you get to the first rule, it fails harder than any other conspiracy ever in the history of conspiracy theories. It's not possible. It's not a belief. It's not an opinion. It's not any of those things. It's just bullshit. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe. Join me in my music stream, and I'll see you guys hopefully in 20 minutes.